Hey, what's going on? Joe Gilder here. No video today other than this. Wanted to hop on. It's been crazy. We're starting kitchen renovations today. I've been all over Nashville area today, but I wanted to hop down and for two reasons. One, I've been talking about production all this last week. So if you saw my videos last week, lots of cool stuff about the different methods I use to produce a song and keep it interesting and engaging and all that. Well, that's all been leading up to a new course I created that I'm really excited about. I'm excited about every course I've created. This is the 21st course that I've made, but I feel extra excited about this one because it's called Understanding Production. There's a link in the description and it's available now if you want to buy it. There's a sale this week. We can get it at a pretty steep discount. Or you can become a gold member and you get that as a part of access to everything that I've released. So check all those out. If you're interested and you want to dive into my training deeper, I'd love to have you. If you don't, that's fine too. But there is a discount this week. So it's worth checking out now if you think you might be interested, save a few bucks. But for just a couple minutes, I don't have a ton of time, but for a couple minutes, I want to answer any questions you might have related to producing songs. The production piece, the part that's difficult to nail down. We maybe know how to record, we know how to mix, but what do we record? What do we record? What parts? How do we think through that? Love to talk about that if there's any questions. I've touched on it in the last week, but I go really in depth inside this course, again, understandingproduction.com. But if you have specific questions here, let's talk about those. I've got maybe got like 5 minutes before the twins come down and disturb everything. We are in renovation mode, which means our kitchen table is now right there. So we will be eating dinners and breakfasts in the studio. I'm not sure how I feel about that. No, it's going to be fine. It'll be fun. It'll get old really quick. And the coffee maker is in the bathroom. Yeah, it's like living in a hotel, one-room apartment. It's awesome. What's up, Don Hamer? Good to see you, my friend. Studio is bumming. Bumming. I don't know what bumming means, but it sounds like a good thing. Dr. McFarlane, good to see you again. If y'all haven't checked out Dr. McFarlane Studios YouTube channel, he's a buddy here. We just had lunch last week. Great guitar player, and he's got some cool videos too. Some really neat like gear stuff, which we all love gear stuff. I should do more gear stuff, but I don't because I'm a dork. Am I moving? No, we are renovating our kitchen. Our kitchen is 50 years old. We bought the house with the intent to renovate, and that's finally happening. So, yeah, we're going to be living out of the fridge in the garage and a grill and a microwave for a while. Having family in the mixing room should be, yeah, fun. Brady, sure. Let's go with fun. That's a great idea. The family in the mixing room. How fun could that be? That dining table is perfect for orange chicken. Yes, of course. Y'all got any questions? Anything I can answer for you? How old am I? I am 33. I'll be 34 on my next birthday. August 3rd, we should have a party. What do you think? So if y'all don't have any questions, I'll just say bye and y'all can go check out the new course. But Jose, what's up, my friend? Good to see you here. Compression. Yeah, random guy. I can talk about compression. Compression is difficult to understand at first because there's just a lot of knobs, and it's not an intuitive thing. EQ we all get. I can boost lows and highs. That's kind of an easy thing to understand, at least conceptually. Compressions, there's no real correlation in the real world unless you're an electric guitar player and you've used a compressor pedal, so you have a little bit of a sense of what it does in one scenario. But for me, you first have to learn about compression in terms of what it technically does. It is turning down peaks and then turning up quieter parts, and that's all well and good. That's not terribly helpful until you start using it in real scenarios where sometimes I am using it to turn down a vocal when he sings a note too loud and slaps him down. But more times than not, I'm using compression for what it does to the sound more than just volume control. It creates a different tone. We're messing with the dynamics of the performance in a way that makes it ideally sound better. I've got a course called Understanding Compression. That explains it really in depth. Goes in, what do all the different knobs do, when and why would you use them, how do you listen for compression, how do you hear it, what does it sound like, and then practical applications of that. But big picture is learn how to use it, learn what it all does, and then just practice over and over and learn from other people and how they're doing it. Mason says, is it better to record double guitar parts with 2 different guitars with the same amp, or 2 different amps, same guitar? Good question. I would try all of the above. I would imagine if I had to pick, 2 different guitars in the same amp is going to probably be a more different of a tone. But then again, I mean, if going between a Fender and a Vox, that's going to be pretty different too. I think you're thinking in the right direction though. If you make them exactly the same, that can work sometimes. Sometimes a Les Paul through a Marshall twice is great. Sometimes it's so similar that it sounds phasey. It doesn't sound as big and wide. So I would up you another one. Different guitar playing a different part, like up on the neck, different inversion of the chords or something like that, even different tuning in a different amp if you want to go crazy. But you don't have to change all of those. Just changing one variable, even if it was like into a clean amp with a different drive pedal, that's better and gives you something more different. And it might make you play differently, which to me, that's more interesting. Oh, it makes me want to play like this when I play with these pieces of gear. What's the most amount of instruments you've had in a production? I featured some really big tracks in this new course, Understanding Production. And one of them I know had 71 tracks. The other, I didn't look at the track count, but it also had a lot. I think the biggest one had 70 something. But it doesn't, when you look at it, it doesn't, that may sound, maybe to you that sounds overwhelming. To like the pop guys, it doesn't sound, that probably sounds like a small track count. But it's big chunks of tracks. Like there's 10 or 12 tracks for a percussion loop that I put together. It's really all just one sound at the end of the day, but there's just a lot of tracks to get there. But yeah, can't join your gold membership without a credit card. Yeah, that's correct. Email me, Rainier. I may be able to work out something PayPal wise, but the system I'm using right now doesn't have PayPal as a subscription deal. But I can change that actually. I'm thinking about changing it, but there's some weird back end stuff that goes wrong with PayPal. Mason says, just trying to decide if a new amp or a new guitar should be on the never-ending musician shopping list. I think you'll get, as long as you have an amp that you really connect with, then a new guitar is going to, it depends on what guitars you have. If you only have humbuckers, single coil guitar is going to give you more mileage, I think, than just getting another humbucker guitar. But anything that gets you excited and get you in the studio. In case you're jumping in, we're talking about production. I've got a new course out called Understanding Production, understandingproduction.com. There's 2 ways to get it. You can buy the course at a discount this week, or you can become a gold VIP member and you get access to that course plus the 20 previous courses I've released. It's like $1,600 worth of courses for one price. It's a sweet deal. Just check it out. And if you don't like it, I have this whole guarantee thing. You have a year to try it out, and it doesn't work, let me know. I'll boop, 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 shoot you your money back. We can still be friends. Thoughts on using woodwinds? Yeah, I just don't have any friends that play woodwinds, so I don't record them very often. I'm not against them. Joe, do you think that musical creativity is something that can be learned or trained, or is it just a gift people are born with? Absolutely, it can be learned or trained. I think there's some level of innate something, but even that, I think, is more a product of, if I was raised by a bunch of musicians, which I kind of was, I'm going to probably be more inclined to do music, right? My mom makes me take piano lessons when I'm 6. Didn't love it. Never loved piano lessons, but now I do music. So thanks, Mom. I think that has a big role to play. If you haven't read Malcolm Gladwell's, what is it? Is it him? It's a book called Talent is Overrated. I don't think it's Malcolm Gladwell, but it's called Talent is Overrated. And it's this whole idea that there's such little innate talent that goes into becoming excellent at something. It's the vast majority of people, it's just maybe they had a little bit of talent, but the bulk of it is learned. And it's learned through repetition and hard work. And there's not really like a shortcut. So if some people seem like they were born with it, I bet they've just put in like 1,000 times the hours that you have, and it makes them seem effortless. So like people watch a video I've done and say, oh, Joe, I can't, the way you knew how to EQ that thing, it's just not fair. You have golden ears. I've only heard that a few times, but that they make it seem like they're excusing themselves. They're saying, oh, I'll never be that good. Joe's just naturally has an ear for it. I don't naturally have an ear for it. My first music I ever recorded, I didn't even know what EQ was. I didn't know what mixing was. I just put an echo on the vocal and then said, done. And it sounded awful. And so there was no natural, I didn't hear this stuff. I learned over years and years and hundreds of mixes. I kind of am fast at it now and good at it, but it took lots of work. So, and training, but both, right? Can you speak on writing progressions and breaking them from being just loops? I'm not sure what you mean by loops, but I mean repeating the same. I'm a big fan of 4 chords repeated for a few, 2 or 4 times, and then change the progression into a pre-chorus, and then have the chorus be a different progression. You can get by with having 1 chord progression for the entire song, but something else has to be super interesting to make that work. At least in my opinion, "Achy Breaky Heart" is 2 chords the entire song. It did well. So there's always plenty of exceptions to any rule you might have, but I just get bored playing a song that doesn't change things up musically and creatively. So I play stuff that I enjoy. So my songs might have 6, 7, 8, 9 different chords in them. Some have even way more than that, depending on the song. I'm not trying to be complicated or complex just for the sake of being complex, but just for the sake of being musically interesting. If I'm not interested in it musically, it's going to be hard for me to produce something that's interesting, or certainly to perform it well. There are songs, if there are some of my songs that I don't love, I don't tend to play them when I'm playing a show or a writer's night or something, because it just doesn't excite me that much. So I would much rather write a song that really excites me and is interesting and fun for me to play and sing, than one that doesn't and is more repetitive. And if I'm bored with it, you as the listener are really going to be bored with it. What are your thoughts about analog versus digital? I just don't care. I think if you saw a couple of weeks ago, I did a couple of videos on using analog modeling plugins versus stock plugins. They sounded different. And I preferred the analog in that specific scenario. But it really, I mean, what do you mean analog versus digital? Because everything we record gets digital at some point. Nobody here is recording to analog tape. And if you are, great. I'm sure it sounds amazing, but there are lots of benefits to digital, and there are hit records being made on all of it. So that kind of just negates the whole argument to me, right? If someone makes a hit record using stock Pro Tools plugins, and someone else makes a hit record going through a SSL console to tape, then it means both are capable of doing the thing. It means that neither one of those tools is the variable. The variable is you, and how good you are, and how good the musicians are, and how good the song is, and how good the production is, which is why we're talking about production today. Understandingproduction.com. It's in the description. It's a new course. Just came out today. Go check it out. There's a discount this week only. You can get it by just buying the course, and you'll have instant access to it. The videos are all in the members area waiting for you, or you can become a gold VIP member and you'll get it for free, well, with your membership, along with all the 20 other courses I've released over the years, including things like understanding compression, understanding EQ, speed mixing, understanding mixing. What else is in there? Guitar vocal production, intro to recording. I got courses on recording vocals, acoustic guitar, electric guitar. I got one on drums coming up soon that you'll get access to if you're a gold member. Me and Tim Horsley are going to knock that one out of the park. Would you recommend writing the song outside of the box first? Good question, Sterling. I tend to write, with a pen and a piece of paper and a guitar most of the time. But I have written stuff. My last EP I wrote kind of in the box, and it was really cool and creative. So to me, do what works for you and change it up and see what that does. When I did my 50 song challenge a couple years ago, I wrote them all on guitar or piano or electric guitar, and they started to all sound the same. So the next time I was writing songs, I was trying to just write in a different way just to give me different results, because I started to see some of the same stuff coming up over and over. Writing, sorry, I read. Where are the questions? Any idea, this is from Ryan, any idea on how to know when we're overdoing it with the extra instrument parts? Is there such a thing as too much? There is such a thing as too much. And sometimes it's hard to know. Some songs I go, this is over the top, and I don't care. There's one inside the new course that is essentially that. I just went all out. I said, this is borderline too far, but man, I had fun doing it. And it was kind of what I heard in my head when I first recorded the song or first wrote the song. So I just went for it. And it turned out well, I think. A lot of it's subjective. If it's a simple guitar vocal and it really is supposed to be a light production and you go nuts with it, probably went too far. But some of it you just won't know. I tend to go too far and then pull back. Kind of same with EQ. I'll go find the right frequency, cut it probably too far, and then bring it back to a more sane amount. I may record 8 guitar parts and realize I only needed 4. But at this point, I'm just recording, and if I don't like it, I just delete it. and I record until something clicks with me and something feels cool, then I leave it and then I add something else if it still feels empty. So I'm very much still playing that. Is it missing anything? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, let's figure out what that is. No, then I guess we're done. Or move on to the next section of the song or whatever until we listen through and we're like, nothing's missing except it just needs to be mixed. Once we get there, feeling pretty good. How do you make the lead guitar solo sound thick on higher notes? Thicker sounding guitar, probably. Like if you're only playing strats, if you're playing a strat, go to one of the in-between positions on the pickup selector. So instead of going all the way to the bridge or the neck, do the positions 2 or 4, or just grab like a Les Paul or a 335, put that sucker on the neck pickup, and you'll have thick tones for days. But yeah, that to me is a guitar player's problem, not a mix engineer's problem. I mean, you can EQ and stuff, but I can't take a super thin Telecaster part and make it sound big and thick with an EQ, really, right? It's going to have that twang to it, which is cool if it's what the song calls for. If you're on a Tele, go in the middle position. Try that. If you don't have any humbuckers, that makes it kind of humbucker-ish. That might be worth trying too. PB, thanks for hanging out with me. Danny says you use a Les Paul, then just focus on tone. If it doesn't sound big and thick on the higher notes with just you and your amp in the room, then don't worry about recording. You're not ready. Change whatever needs to be changed. If it's the amp, if it's the pedals, maybe you have too much overdrive. Maybe pull that back. A lot of people just crank the overdrive and it just becomes this fuzz fest and there's no thickness and punch. Dial it back. Let it be a little cleaner. Go listen to AC/DC. Their guitars are clean, man, and they rock harder than anyone. Ish. How do you make your kicks sound better and hit harder with the thump? It starts with the recording, and we're talking more about production today than mixing, but a big thing is cut some mid-range, boost some lows. Don't overcompress it. Compression will kill your kick drum. It can help. It can also kill it. Completely kill it. So maybe if you're compressing like crazy, just stop. Try. Literally, go look at some of my, if you watch any of my mixing videos, you may look, if you get a glimpse at my drum mix, you may see the kick drum has an EQ or maybe has nothing. And the only compression is happening on the drum bus. And it's just a more general compression that has a fairly slow attack usually. And I feel like I'm getting great sounding kick drums without going through and manipulating like crazy. Now, ask 10 people how to do it. They'll give you 10 different legit answers. So that's my one drop in the bucket of how to get a big kick drum. Would it be considered cheating if you slice the best measure of a track, duplicating it instead of re-recording 4 or 8+ measures again? Yeah, I do that all the time. For some things, like a shaker, I can only give you probably 4 or 8 bars of shaker that work. If you let me record for 32 bars, I'll probably give you 8 good ones. I'll go find those 8 good ones, and then I'm copying and looping those throughout the whole song. I try to get my takes down right. If the second verse stinks, I'll go punch it in and record it again. If I missed it or I forgot to punch it in and it's a month later and I'm mixing the song and I realize, oh, verse 2 kind of sucks, I may just go find a guitar part in verse 1 and copy it over to verse 2. It's completely legit. Not cheating at all. As long as it keeps it interesting and serves the song, I don't think any of it's cheating. Couldn't do that in the old analog tape days. I'm going to cut out just the second verse guitar, and then I don't think you could. So it is a wonderful digital world in which we live. Would you say stereo panning is an essential part of production, or do you leave this to mixing? Panning is a big part of my production process, meaning I'm thinking in terms of left, middle, and right. If I record a sick guitar part and I'm thinking it's not going up the middle, it's going to go left. Well, I got to record something to go on the right to balance it. That's the way I think about it. Doesn't have to be a double. Doesn't even have to be a guitar. It could be a sick guitar part on the left and this really cool keyboard part on the right, and they play off each other nicely. Done. Because I've mixed enough songs to where there's a bunch of cool parts, but some of them don't balance each other well, and I'm stuck putting it up the middle when it gets a little buried behind the vocal and everything else, and I wish there was a place to put it left or right with something else to balance it. So I try to cover that. Not making everything symmetrical to the point of it being sterile, but just making it interesting but balanced. So really cool things happening over here, vocals up the middle. If nothing cool is happening over here, it's going to feel heavy that way. So we put cool things happening on both sides, and now it's balanced, but they're not the same thing happening, right? They're two different sounds, two different looking things, but they get the job done. I hope that ends up being the thumbnail for this video because I look ridiculous. Hello, Stavros from Greece. I have Greek on my arm. I'm not Greek, though. You probably don't like me for that. All right, y'all. I think I'm out of time. I need to run. Also, my computer's at 11% battery, and the charger's not down here. So, with that, I'm gonna say goodbye one more time. I gotta say it one more time. I've been making courses since 2009. My goal here with Home Studio Corner is to help you, if you're frustrated with the recording process, to help you get over the complexity involved and to finally make the music you were born to make. That's why I do this. That's why I create courses. If you're into taking courses and putting down some money so it forces you to really do the work and to really take the course and really apply it to what you're doing, that's why I have these courses. I just released my 21st course today, and it's called Understanding Production. So go to understandingproduction.com. You can check it out, see if it makes sense for you. And if it does make sense for you, you can buy it outright. There's a sale this week. You can get it it's something like $60 off, something like that, 57 off. Or you can become a VIP gold member, and gold members get access to any new courses that I put out, plus all the 21 or 20 previous courses as well. I've got some cool courses in the works. So if it makes sense, if not, and you just want to do the free YouTube thing forever, let's do it. Come on. I'm not going anywhere. But if you want to dive in a little deeper, then I welcome you to come do it. And I promise it'll be worth your while. And if it's not, if you don't start making way better music as a result, I'll give you money back. It don't help nobody if my stuff doesn't help you, right? Okay. All right, folks, that's it. Ryan, Jose, Alec, Random Guy, Ryan, David, Stavros, Pyramid 7, Sphincter. Thank y'all for being here, and all the others. You are legends. Ask Joe. Things are a little up in the air with the renovation that's happening upstairs, but Ask Joe should be tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central. So we'll do this again. All right. Bye. I thought I ended it. And end.